Hi everybody, thank you for sitting in and joining me today. My name is Holland and I've got my 2-week knitting update for you. Today I have one finished object, I have one work in progress, and I have one item from the archives. I am wearing my puff stitch sweater. It is finally the perfect temperature outside to get away with wearing a sweater. The holes in it is enough to let a little bit of breeze go through, but it's warm enough still to keep you cozy. This sweater is using Bernat's Super Chunky. It is 100% acrylic and it is using yarns from my scrap pile. Some people have opinions about using acrylic yarn, and the more I use it, the more opinions I have about it too. But my theory is that I'm using up what I have instead of going out and buying new. So for me, that's a win. We'll take it. It's a great sweater. It should be super easy to take care of. This sweater is self-drafted. It is a saddle shoulder. It goes down with kind of set-in sleeves, and it's just super comfortable. Nice little puff stitches. My one work in progress I have for you is my Belgium sweater. My Belgian sweater is yarn that I bought from Belgium. I'm using US size 8 needles, which is 5 millimeters. This yarn is Fonty Ombelle. You can see on the details, I don't have the details on me, but you can see what its construction is. Some mohair and some wool. I think a little bit of polyamide for the core to, give it some strength. Strength is the word I'm looking for. And since the last time I saw you, I've got my little progress keeper in there. You can see how much progress I've made. Isn't that great? These colors are just absolutely beautiful. I love how it goes from creamsicle to lipstick. So that's really cute colors. One of my favorite features on this is the scalloping color work. Gives it a little bit of interest because I wanted something interesting instead of just like color change, kind of like this one where it went from cream to yellow to pea yellow, dehydrated yellow. This one is a simple raglan construction. It's got a v-neck to it, so that's really cool. But I am about 10 rows away from binding off. My hair is bugging me. Can't do this. I don't have a whole lot to say about this because it's just kind of going along. It's nice. It's wonderful. I love it. If I ever do this again, I may explore some bust shaping. I have the body shape where I prefer to have some sort of shaping into the waist, so that way I don't look like a bean or a potato. But as for now, it's really light. I know it's gonna block out and stretch a little bit or become more flowy and airy as I block it out, but that is a problem for me in the future. My finished object I have for you today is my Love's Cable sweater. I'm so thrilled to be finished with my Love's Cable sweater. I finished the cuffs. I bound off on Halloween night after the trick-or-treaters were done trick-or-treating. One thing I love about these cuffs is that you can see the 1x1 ribbing. Can you see that okay? You can see the 1x1 ribbing like most cuffs have, but on the cable side of it, the cables continue through the end. So that's really cool. It gives it a little bit more dimension. I think it's really cool. I really enjoy it. The same thing too with the, I always forget what you call this, the hem, the bottom. It does that too, but I think I showed you guys that last time, so that's really nothing new. But yeah, I think in 2 weeks, I'd like to go on a deep dive with this cable sweater. I can tell you what I learned with it. I can tell you, gosh, you always learn so much when you start a new project and complete a project, don't you? So I'm excited to go into a deep dive in that one in 2 weeks. But today I'm more interested in going into a deep dive with my cat skull sweater. I think this is the first time I'm sharing my cat skull sweater with you guys. This was a project that took about 2 years to complete. This cat skull sweater is, what if I just, does that work? I'm trying to learn transitions. But this cat skull sweater is completely self-drafted. One day I might do a better camera angle. Look at those shimmers popping up. I love that. The way it sparkles in the light. Ooh, that's so cool. I actually made notes so that way I can follow what I'm doing. My cat skull sweater took me about 2 years to create, from the design process all the way through knitting and finishing. The yarn that I used in this cat skull sweater is Lion Brand Pound of Love. The Pound of Love is super economical, pretty cheap for the amount of yarn you're getting. This is yarn that I already had in stash, and the Pound of Love is a medium worsted weight. It also uses Caron Crystal Cake as the secondary color. So the Pound of Love is the white in the skulls, and the Caron Crystal is the black and the background color. The crystal is really cool because it has all this glitter when the light hits it. Ooh, I just love it. The needles I used for this were US size 8s. They are 5mm needles for the body. For the arms, I used US size 6 or 4mm needles. In this sweater, it is a bottom-up construction, which is very different to what I prefer knitting. And I think I learned that I prefer top-down after knitting the sweater, which is completely appropriate. The hem is a split hem. Oh, you can see nicely where the cat decided to eat it. That's nice. One of my kitties, Talbert, really enjoys eating, that's him. He's the culprit. He really enjoys eating acrylic yarn. It is his favorite, and he's a naughty boy because of it. I'm really worried he's gonna have a bowel obstruction one of these days, so I've been really trying to keep things out of his reach because I don't want to pay a giant vet bill. No, we don't. The hem is a split hem. It joins for just a little bit. It is a 2x2 rib, which gives it some elasticity, but not a whole lot of elasticity. It is pretty hard to see on camera because it is black yarn, so you'll just have to take my word for it. With the body knitting bottom up, I learned that knitting in the round needs to use smaller needles than knitting flat. Opposite of that, knitting flat needs to use larger needles than knitting in the round. I learned that after the sweater was completed, when I put it down and looked at it, and I realized how much bigger, that's not a good one, how much bigger these cat skull motifs are than the ones up here. They are quite a bit bigger, and because they're larger, you can really see the black from behind them, the floats coming through, versus because these ones are tighter, because they were knit back and forth, you can't really see through them really well. Gosh, I just love how this is picking up on camera. This is fantastic. I am so in love with this. Steaming helped a lot. I steam blocked this a little bit when I was done, and I steam blocked the hell out of these back and forth knit flat sections so I could try to make them a little bit more relaxed, like how relaxed the body is. When I first put this sweater on, you know when you have a cute little frilly outfit you put on little baby girls and it's super tight here, but then it just poofs out from there? That's what this looked like. And for me, with the shape of my body, when something relaxed hits this part, it just widens my whole frame. So I wanted to make sure that this was as loose as possible, so that way it looked like a baggy sweater instead of looking like a tight sweater that made me look like I was wearing a potato sack. As I continued knitting up from the bottom of the sweater, I got to the shoulders. I learned on this sweater that shoulders have a little bit of a drop to them. If you knit them square and flat out, then they might not hang right, they might not fit your body as well. So I learned about that angle where the shoulder drop happens. Because I wanted to do a nice sweater, I also learned about German short rows. I, after this, am in love with German short rows. I think the shoulders only have 3 German short rows each, so it didn't take a lot, but it was enough to learn on. Well, you can see where I hemmed it right there. It's not the prettiest thing in the world, but that's okay. It's my first major colorwork sweater. I like the German short rows on the shoulders because they don't leave a stair step to them. It's more of a smooth instead of a step. So that makes it seam up really nice. That gives it a nice flow instead of being a jagged, weird, pointy shoulder to it. I learned on this sweater about picking up stitches. There's a lot of things I learned on this sweater. I learned about picking up stitches. Hey, pretty girl. This is pretty girl. She's naughty. I learned when you are picking up stitches that you want to pick them up at a rate of 3 to 4. So you pick up 3 stitches to every 4 that already exist. That is because the width of the stitches is wider than the height of the stitches. So along this line, you would be picking up 3 height-wise to accommodate for 4 width-wise. That sounds right. I learned about picking up stitches every 3 to 4. I also pick up 3 to 4 ratio on the back of the sweaters too, just so that way when I'm knitting the collar, it cinches in how I like it to, because that's how I want to do it. It's my sweater and I can do whatever I want. I learned with acrylic yarn, there is quite a bit of pilling, and that's fine. That's something I'm just gonna have to live with. So that's why I'm slowly graduating to working with natural fibers instead of acrylic, because you're working so hard on something. I heard someone say you want to buy the best yarn that you can afford, and I'm really finding that's ringing true. As I continue working up my way through the sweater, the sleeves are kind of like a set-in sleeve construction. So I picked up once again every 3 out of 4 stitches. I did kind of like short row shaping to do a short row sleeve cap until I got to the armpit, and then I just knit straight until I was done with it. Knitting straight creates this kind of, oh, that's a better angle. It creates kind of this balloon sleeve, and then I did a rapid decrease before I hit the cuff. The cuff is also a 2x2 rib. Yeah, you can kind of see that. The cuff is a 2x2 rib. It's not very elastic. I guess it's a little elastic, but I think I knit the cuffs a little too tight because when I pull the sleeve up, no, it's fine. It's not bad. I think it's just stretching out with age. The first time I knit the cuffs though, it was so tight I could hardly get my hands through it. Now they've kind of blocked out and steamed out, and they're a little bit easier to use. One thing with this sweater though, the sleeves are so long, so it doesn't really look like a puff sleeve. It looks like a bell sleeve, unless I bring them up, and then it looks more like a puff sleeve, like a balloon sleeve. So I may fix that one of these days. I may circumcise my sleeves, or I may leave them as is. Natural is best, right? My debate, if I do sleeve surgery, so that way we can see them, I may want to wear it more, because it'll be more like I want it to be. And you're not going to wear something unless you love it, right? My argument to not cutting the sleeves, not doing sleeve surgery, if I keep them how they are, then I can always look back on the sweater and see how much I've grown as a knitter. My other theory too, if I leave this sweater how it is, one day, if I ever decide to actually write a pattern for this, I can look back on it and see how much I've grown, and yeah, see how much better it will be when I knit it up again. The back side of the sweater, the neckline is a little heavy. It kind of drops a little bit. This is one thing I would like to change if I decided to knit this sweater again. Instead of doing like a drop like you see on t-shirts from the store, I think I would do short rows to raise the back a little bit. The higher back line, the less my sweater kind of pulls this way. So while I'm wearing this sweater in the wild, I'm always having to pull it down because I want this to be a low v-neck instead of a high v-neck because it's so heavy in the back. So that's one thing I would like to change about this sweater too. I really hope you enjoyed learning about my cat skull sweater today. I hope you enjoyed seeing my Loves Cable sweater, which is complete. And like I said, I'll do a deep dive on this one in about 2 weeks. And I hope you enjoyed seeing my progress on my Belgium sweater, which is almost done with the body. So thank you for tuning in today on my deep dive on my cat skull sweater. If you want to hear more about my cat skull sweater, please leave a comment below, let me know. I always feel weird putting plugs in my videos. If you want to see more, you can subscribe to this channel. If you have something that you want me to talk about more, please let me know in the comments. I would love to hear what you have to say. And I look forward to seeing you again in about 2 weeks. Thanks, bye.